Boom.
Biddly, 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 but yes, yo. Here we go. There ain't nobody down around here. Don't matter what anybody says. You know what time it is. Get that badger in and on and over here. We had to move back to get his greatness in. If you could keep liking and subscribing to the channels, guys. My voice is everywhere. It sounds like I'm getting emotional about liking and subscribing. If you'd like and subscribe to the channel, guys, it really does help and all that stuff. I appreciate everybody over the international break that have tuned in and stuff last night. Shout out to everybody that was on the underlap. Special shout out to MVG, Ming, Julie Neri, Pat Dunn, CH, Chris Howarth. Ming reckons there's a DCL goal bonus coming in, and Mark Bradley. And then the special shout out to Roller Blunt and Mimi, who have had a bit of a topsy-turvy week this week. I'm hoping everything gets better in the coming days and in the future in general for them. So shout out to Roller Blunt and Mimi in a potential time of need. This is the Burnley preview match. I'm glad we're back in business. I'll be live tomorrow from about 2:30, maybe a bit earlier. We'll see how we're getting on. The kickoff at 3 p.m. Away at Burnley. It's going to be a tricky fixture. Now, Noah Okafor is out injured. Farker did say in his interview yesterday, in his press conference, that he's unsure about Noah Okafor. And then for some reason, nobody followed him up on it. And we went down into these. I don't get these softball questions and stuff in the press conferences. I think the press conferences are shit anyway, really, in general. But I don't know why there was no follow-up to that. They're banging on about Harry Gray and banging on about contracts and all that stuff. It's like he's just said that Noah Okafor's he's unsure about him, and then nobody followed it up. Well, anyway, Fabrizio Romano, whatever he's called, has released it on Twitter. That he's out for between 7 and 10 days, which is obviously not very good. Twitter's gone into overload. I also think it's overplayed. So he's released this, and then people are going online, going crazy, saying that who's leaked this to Romano and all this stuff. Like, you don't know who's released it, do you? He's found out. The guy's that is what the guy is, isn't it? He releases information that he finds out. I don't know how anybody tells him anything on that basis, unless they want it to come out. So I don't know. Obviously, I think it's overplayed, this team news stuff, when people say, oh, they like to keep it close to the chest and all that stuff. Like, who really cares? I don't think Burnley are going to set up any different, not knowing that Noah Okafor's not there. Furthermore, it might actually work to our benefit. It might make them open up slightly down right-hand side. They might think, well, it'll be Harrison, for instance, which is a whole nother ball talk, which we'll get to. Truth be told, I still think we should have enough. I think there's been a huge exaggeration gone online. Obviously the haters coming in saying in 2025, I cannot believe that we're starting with Harrison and Aronson in the Premier League. It's like, well, most people that think like that can't believe we're in the Premier League in the first place. There's been a lot of talk about the change of formation to go 2 up top. So you bring Biol in and then you go 3 at the back, Bogle, Goodmanson out wide. I'd still stick with Longstaff and Purdue. Tanaka maybe in the 10. Then you go, Metcher and DCL up top. I don't think he'll do that. I don't think he's going to change the formation. I don't want him to. I don't think there's any need. I think it's a little bit unfortunate that we're still sort of talking about Aronson. I have actually been one of the people calling to get Harrison in. In general, I think he should be further up the pecking order, even when everybody's fit. I think he makes a stronger Harrison, particularly when we're going to get broke on. I think he's better defensively, stronger defensively. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I don't really care. I think he's taken on his own coach as well, apparently, over the international break, which is, the bloke works really hard, doesn't he? And given a few chances around edge at box, I do think he has quality. He will frustrate people at times. But is he at this level? He's one of the better options that we have. Can Metcher do a job on the right? Would be my other argument, where you go Harrison and Metcher on the right. There's this idea that Metcher can only play centre forward. Metcher is not an out-and-out striker, in my opinion. He's a centre forward. I don't care what anybody says on Just Joe's show. There is a difference in the type of striker that DCL is and the type of striker that Metcher is. I think Metcher can go out wide, and I don't know why we wouldn't explore that, really. He's also played right and left throughout his career. Less so. He's a centre forward, it needs to be said, but he's a centre forward that's very mobile, gets about, and I think he could do a job for us on the right wing. I don't think Farker will do that, but I also don't think it's the end of the world that we're going up against Burnley and it's Harrison and Aronson. If we had to pick a football club to go up against with them two in the side, would you not go that this would be the side that you'd be up for it against? Any other side other than Burnley, I think, fans are right to panic, really. I think it's probably right to panic. Not panic, but I understand the frustration. We've also got rid of Ramazani and stuff, and, whether or not he's doing any good whatsoever abroad, which he isn't. He's not even close to ripping up a bush, never mind a tree over there. So, or a twig or a fucking weed. He can't even do any weeding over there. But it would have given us more options, but it would have also been probably kicking out a stink by now, moaning, pissing and whinging that he's not got any minutes, which is what players like Harrison don't do and what players like Aronson don't do. Burnley have only won one game. They've drawn one, lost the other 5. They've scored 7, conceded 15. We have been scoring a lot more recently as well, it's worth saying. Like I said, at the end of the last season, we will be much stronger at the back than Burnley were this season. Obviously, Burnley had the superior defence last year, but only by a margin. And it was only because we were we were scoring so many more goals than them in general in games, that you're bound to have a little bit worse goals against just on the basis of how we played. But we have been better defensively thus far than them. We can go 7 points clear of Burnley tomorrow, which I do think is a nice little gap early on in the season. I do think Burnley will go down this season. I don't even think they've been that bad this year. I know they've lost 5, but most teams that came up we said that we'd all be going straight back down. So, but I do think they'll go down this season. So it goes without saying, the sort of, the bigger the gap, the more chance we have of staying up, don't we? The only team they have beat as well is Sunderland, which they did 2-0. Which is also worth mentioning that we got no luck last year from them. We got beat at home, didn't we? The famous Solomon slip. And then I believe we drew away to them. So they do potentially have that up their sleeve, but I'm very keen on moving away from the Championship in general now. We are not in the Championship. We're no longer a Championship side. We've become an established Premier League side already for me. We look tough to beat. We look decent. So we've got to put teams like Burnley to the sword this season in general. The pressure is growing a little bit, even in my mind. I feel as though we have to go out and get a result. It's 3 points incoming, particularly when we're under dark, sort of shady times, and people are saying about Okafor, and we've got Harrison back wide left. I don't think Harrison back wide left is the worst thing in the world. I agree we could have better outlet on the right than Aronson, but we're kind of down to the bones of it now, unless you do show the fan base that Metcha can actually do a job there. I think he'll go early. I think he'll make some subs at 60 minutes. I think Metcha comes on. We'll see. We'll see what options we have on the bench. What's everybody's thoughts? I personally, I'm going to go solid 2-0 victory. I think it's going to be tough, to be fair, down there or up there. I don't know where Burnley is, but I know I know we're playing away. That's all I know. So I don't know if it's up, down, side to side. It's not my field, is it, geography? And it's not my pitch, Turf Moor. So, shit is as shit does. But 2-0, I think we'll grind it out. I think it might be tough first 30 minutes, but I think if we get a couple of chances, I'm hoping DCL gets his shooting boots on, bags a couple of goals for us, then we've got a couple of options off at bench. I would like to see Metcha on for Aronson, and he sticks with DCL up top. Another 90 minutes would be great from him. In other news, Cresswell, apparently he's wanted by Everton. Obviously, there was some talk that Liverpool wanted him at the start of the season and all this. He's obviously gone away and he's done quite well as Cresswell. He's had a good World Cup, under 21s or Euros or whatever it was. And he's apparently wanted by many Premier League clubs. Whether or not he stands up to that scrutiny, if and when he does sign somewhere, is another thing to be said. Again, I won't put it down to a Farker mistake. I think these things happen when you're at a decent club, when we're winning games left, right and centre. We've got 100 points. You're not going to please every single player, and you're not going to change it back to when we've been so solid. So that's where we are now. That's why the calls for Beal to come in, just because Struick got done the other day, even though Goodmanson also had a bit of a wobble. Goodmanson's had a few wobbles, but he does, proves himself going forward as well. And he's a decent enough defender. I'd like to see more out of Bogle going forward in every single sense. That's another little Swiss Army knife that we've potentially got up his sleeve. I'd like him to have a bit more of a relationship with Aronson that allows him to get a bit further forward, and then Aronson can sort of do a bit more covering without calling Aronson a right back. Bogle is basically a winger. There was some calls last week to get Bogle out wide, up out wide, which is a crazy talk to me. Before you're going to try Metcha, I'm not trying Bogle out wide, right? And then in other news, Ilan Meslier He's apparently wanted again, and there's obviously his contract is up at the next summer, so the teams can potentially start to get stuck into him. But Leeds United are very keen on shutting down any version of a free transfer, so they are looking to cash in to some extent on him. So yeah, what are your thoughts on Okafor out? Do we still have a chance tomorrow? I'm up for it. Let's get behind the team. This is not happy clapping. I would have preferred to have other options than Harrison and Aronson. I'm not saying that. I've said from the start of the season, I don't think Harrison is a bad option wide left. I think in some games he'll be quality, in some games he won't. I think we're going to see that from Okafor, truth be told, over the season. And we knew when we got him that he's a little bit injury prone. A lot of talk about a lot of players getting injured in training. Obviously putting that down to Farker, obviously Dan James, Perry. Also on Perry, does he come back in? He's not 100% fit yet. I think he sticks with Darlow, but I do actually think he'll bring Perry back into the side when Perry's 100% fit. I wouldn't do that until Darlow has a couple of stinkers, but I agree, you can't wait for the stinkers, but I'm not saying Darlow will have any. He seems like he's looked solid to me thus far. I think Perry will have as many stinkers as Darlow would over the season. But yeah, obviously James has got injured, Nonto's injured, Perry got injured, Okafor's injured. So, there is injuries happening in training. What are your thoughts on that? But take it easy, everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow in a bit.
Boom.